the email with the, and you're recording it for us. Thank you. There's my email for the man. Okay. Back to my email. Dang it. Where is it? Oh, good. I got to sign back into my account or provide a fingerprint. All right. Anyway, there's somewhere around $5,500 in the or more in the checking account between the, or in all of the accounts between PayPal, checking, and savings. So we have plenty of money
Ooh,
right now.
we should be getting
And
something from Amazon again soon as well. Have we received anything from them recently?
I have not seen it. I don't know that it comes directly to me, but and I don't know how frequently those
It's quarterly, and
are.
they put it directly in our savings account, which is what I was concerned about. As I know we changed our savings account number, so we need to make sure we get with our treasurer to ensure that that part has been updated. I believe I was told that Victor did update before he handed over the reins.
Right.
But we just want to confirm that we are actually getting those deposits, since that's actually become a significant part of our income at this point.
That's good. Okay. Anyway, I guess we can proceed to more old business, combination old business and technical report. The DOT started, was supposed to start a contract on the Dames Point Bridge in February. That contractor is now running, instead of 200 days, is now on the 600th day of their work on the bridge. What they're doing is they're doing regular scheduled replacement of all of the bridge lighting, which is now LED, and all of the conduit and cabling and other connections. So it means that they're on the, if anyone's traveled across the bridge, they have either one or both of the outside lanes blocked off during the day when they're working, and they're replacing all of the conduit, the runs up and down each piling, and they're currently working on the southwest pylon. They've done some work to both the northeast and the northwest pylon, but they're running way behind, and they're not scheduled to finish anytime soon. In talking with the bridge department of the DOT, and also with the directly with the contractor, they're expecting to be there through the end of the year. And we had previously scheduled to go up to I had contacted the DOT and got the information about the project, contacted the general contractor and the subcontractor, and have even visited the bridge once while they were working, and in order to tell them exactly where our equipment is, and pointed it out to them. We hold a valid permit to be on the bridge, both for 315 and for the remote receiver for 76. They have cut power to all three of those receivers, and they have been down now for going on 3 months, almost going into the 4th month.
Yeah.
So
over 3 months.
We're relying on our downtown receiver and our Orange Park receiver for 7.6, and 315 is not functioning at all. NoFars has had to activate their backup receiver on top of the Wells Fargo building, and utilizing a 103.5 PL, I think, for that receiver. And I've been kind of the point man for both range and for NoFars, so we're not bombarding the DOT nor the contractor for information. But I spoke to the contractor by phone last week, earlier this week. This past week, this was Tuesday, and he said they're nowhere near finishing. Our power comes from the navigational lights, not the lights on the bridge. So that's considered essential, and that's going to be one of the last things that they switch over. And they have said that they will protect our equipment and change it over, any electrical connections over to the new gang boxes that they're going to install. During the 15 minutes they have to actually, by FAA rules, they can't have those navigational lights on the bridge down for more than 15 minutes each. And that may happen in December, or maybe January, by the way that the contractor is going. Their biggest issue is they don't have enough qualified people to work on the bridge. When I was there were only 2 men actually doing anything, wiring or otherwise, on the bridge. And that combined with the lovely monsoons that we've been having after our drought of a few months, means that they're moving at a snail's pace, and that kind of explains why they're way past the contract. They're $50,000 over budget, and they are going to finish somewhere between 8 and 10 months behind contract. The whole point of saying that is that we're going to have to, it's advisable for us to wait until after they've made all of the electrical connections for us, so that when we go up there to change the equipment over, they won't come back behind us and disconnect anything. I don't know Ben, you can tell me what the rules are for maintaining a a registered repeater, but right now the agency that used to take care of all of that, was a repeater book.
No, it
Can't
was
remember the name.
Florida Repeater Council for Florida, and then they got taken over by or taken over and rebranded as FASMA, FASMA.
There
And
you
since
go.
FASMA, the rules have been a lot looser, you could say.
Right. Well, I don't
So
know that
there's
anyone is checking on it, but we have valid reasons for it being down, and also for it not being back on the air.
Florida Amateur Spectrum Management Association. Wow, sounds a whole lot.
I'm gonna write that one.
Whole lot more official than Florida Repeater Council, but
Florida Amateur
Spectrum Management Association.
Spectrum. Okay.
Keeping in mind that we're not required by law to have our repeaters coordinated or registered with anybody. Although we do
Right,
want
the
to
coordination
play
was-
nice.
Coordination was voluntary primarily, but anyway, it was. There's so many other ways for hams to find a repeater through the internet that and through ARRL that I don't think that's going to affect us. But that's what I have for the old business. We still have the repeater ready to programmed right and enabled and ready to go. We have the CommScope antenna already on the bridge, so switching it over shouldn't be an issue. It's just a matter of waiting until they complete their work so that they don't come back and destroy anything that we've done. So the timing of it, which is we want to be there once they're close to completing the project, so that we can use their lane closures in order to get on the bridge, get our work done, and get it off of the bridge.
Justin, you said something about that we're on the nav light power, the navigation lights power system, and I assume that's still on because you said like the 15-minute thing. Why do they have us disconnected if we're hooked to the lighting system that's still operating?
They disconnected those power leads, that conduit, from the navigational lights.
Okay, so like that power to that room or something else has been cut since they started the project.
Yeah, they just pulled the plug on us while they're sorting through all of the other apparatus that are on the bridge. There's so many. They've cleaned it up a lot. They've taken down a lot of things off of the bridge, but this time they're going to be even more thorough, so that anything that is not permitted or required by the local or federal government is going to be removed.
What was the Pete's? Is that 442 machine that was on the northeast tower? Is
444-200.
Okay, that was at 444-200.
Yeah. Not to be confused with 444-000, which is the machine that I own.
Okay.
Right, so they're in the same northeast.
With the
They're in the same northeast tower, but I don't know if their equipment's even operational.
No, Pete confirmed his was offline around the same time ours went offline due to the power being cut.
he had problems with that repeater going back about 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
And around, in fact, that was, I think, when he came off of SARNet, was because that was the ultimate kill for it, was that lightning hit his antenna or something else. But I was trying to remember, when there question of whether or not they had the permit and can stay. And what I'm wondering is that repeater in jeopardy with this cleanup?
The answer to that is I don't know. I thought that that they shared the same permit that we have. I got a copy of it, and in our records from Pete. I met him up in Kingsland, and to get that, to make sure that we had something on paper
Okay.
permitting us to be on the bridge, so that
Yeah.
if there was ever any question, we would have verification of it.
Okay. So
The
that
last
you
time I
put
was
in-
on the bridge was January of 2020, I believe. And we checked out his equipment, and he had low SWRs, and the equipment was functioning. We keyed it up, and it worked.
Yeah. I think it's
He was talking
receivers
about-
just deaf or having issues.
Right. So I mean, everything else, connections and everything else, seemed to be okay. He was thinking that he had a bad jumper, but we changed out both our jumpers and his jumpers, and the SWR stayed flat. So it's got to be somewhere in his machine. He did not give us any indication that he wanted to replace that, and he didn't volunteer anyone to participate in the project to go to the bridge. So whatever condition his equipment is in, that's the way it's going to remain even after the bridge project is repowering project is finished, and unless or until he decides to jump in and be part of the project to replace. So I haven't spoken to Pete in several months, so I don't know what he's thinking about that equipment. He may just let it go, and just if it's permitted, they're not going to remove it. If he wants that equipment, he's going to have to come and get it unless he tells them otherwise. It may be up there forever. Who knows?
It will become an artifact.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully it regains function when they fire everything back up, but I don't want to. That kind of brings up a question. I have cavities tuned to 315, and I have a Motorola cabinet, and I wanted to know, because of the remote location of the bridge, do we want to consider a different site for 315 that's more accessible?
No. Do we have a site that's more accessible?
The only one that I can think of would be perhaps the UF Health. We already have a cabinet there. There's room in the if not, then there's a cabinet right next door to it that or space for an additional cabinet if Miller thinks that they'll let us install it there.
If we have that much extra equipment, and I think we do right now, I wouldn't mind putting an auxiliary 315 there that we could remotely turn on and off should the bridge one go down, but I wouldn't want to give up that, almost 480-foot high site at the bridge.
I think that is a very good option. What do you think? Anybody else?
Bridge might be hard to get to when we want to get to it, but yeah, it's pretty amazing to be able to use it.
I think that really gives us the best of both worlds. If something happens with the bridge and it's down, we don't have to say 315's down. We can just say, hey, it's got reduced coverage right now until we can resolve it. And then when it's up, we have a, almost 480-foot high repeater with a commercial antenna and a very short feed line that works excellent when it has a good a good repeater plugged into it. I mean, keep in mind the repeater that's up there now is a 1980s era ICOM, and apparently it's taken some type of lightning hit itself because the tone board went. Or I think I'm not sure if it was around the time that Pete started acting up, or if that can be correlated or not. But I know that it had working transmit and receive PL tone, and then one day it didn't. So, it's an open tone repeater right now. Should they power it back on right now, it would be, you don't need a tone to get into it, and it won't produce a tone either. The tone board died, and that may have just died from old age too. Like I said, that I believe that ICOM repeater is from the late '80s, if I recall, early '90s. So it's an older
Right.
piece of equipment.
Yeah, and that was installed as sort of a stopgap while we looked for another repeater that would be suitable to that location. And
Yep.
it has its own little issues, but not just the PL tone, but I don't even know if it'll power back up when they switch it over.
Yeah, when they power it back up, it should go back to last state that it was. So if it was on when it got unplugged, it'll be on when it gets plugged back in.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a hardware switch on that. It's not a logic switch. So as long as the switch is still pressed in, it's going to go back to being powered on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right. Well, the bridge contractor, actually wanted me to climb up there and mark off everything and tag it that they were supposed to leave. And I contacted the DOT, and he said, no, you have valid permits. They should be able to read those permits. They're detailed and they show where everything is. So no, you don't need to climb up there just to show them how to do their own job. But he was, once again,
do you have any photograph of the work that was done? What it looked like the last time someone was up there that you?
Oh, I took photographs the last time. Yeah, I took photographs the last time when I was up there, but the permit includes detailed drawings.
Okay. I just didn't know if that would satisfy the contractor.
The location, hardware. Yeah, they've been told by the DOT that there are those two spaces that nothing is to be removed from, and the DOT area manager assured me that they would do everything to protect that equipment, that they were not going to take anything down that has a valid permit, nor alter it in any way other than plugging it back into the new power. But they are cleaning a lot of other things off the bridge that they say don't need to be there.
That's always good.
Yeah, I've spoken directly to them on a regular basis, both the DOT and the contractor, and also relaying that information to NOFARS so that they can be kept in the loop, because they had no idea that there was any work being even done to the bridge that would impact us as ham operators. Anyway, Ben, do you want to reach out to Miller and see if there is a possibility of putting a backup repeater there at U of F?
Yeah, I'll approach that with him. We need to get 6 meters straightened out as well, so maybe we can kill 2 birds with
I
one
was-
stone that day.
That was my next comment, was we could also fiddle with 6 meters and get it optimized.
So,
Okay.
yeah, if you want to hand it over to me, I'll give an update and then go into my little thing, and unless you had anything else to cover.
The last thing I had to cover is that our elections are coming up, and nominations are due by the October meeting. And then the elections will take place in November. We usually replace the end of year program with our December meeting, and then the newly elected or re-elected officers then assume their roles in January of the following year. So we'll need someone to contact the membership and build a ballot, find out who's interested in participating, and make their name known at the October meeting, so that we can then have the general election in November. So what I'm asking for is someone to take the role of contacting the membership and building a ballot.
I can do that.
You will? Okay.
Yep.
All righty. Good deal. Does anyone have any new business that I don't know of before we go to Ben's presentation? All right, we'll close down then by the business section of it and hand it over to Ben. It's all yours.
Okay, good deal. All right, welcome. Just going to do a quick survey. I did one of these before, and everybody kind of enjoyed it. So this one's about Hamvention, Dayton. And the options are: I want to go next year. I've already been and don't plan on going again. I've already been and I plan on going again. I want to go someday, which is probably where most people are. And I have no interest in ever going, which, man, I hope nobody really clicks that one, but I had to put it there. All right, there's 5 of us on the meeting. I haven't done mine. I don't think I can answer because I created the poll. So yeah, we got 1 person that's already been, and 3 out of the 4 people want to go someday. So I am going next year. And I'm not even joking about it. I have my flight booked. I have my hotel booked. I have my rental car reserved. I'm going next year. So, and I have my wife's blessing, so we don't have to worry about that. You won't see me on the 10 o'clock news when I get back. Wife beats husband with amateur radio equipment with rubber antenna. All right, so very good. That's the poll. Quick update. Not sure if I provided this in the last meeting or if I was even at the last meeting, so I apologize for that. 7.6 does have Echo Link running. All the bugs are worked out. I believe the audio sounds nice and loud and clear. It's announcing, I believe it's announcing every hour if there's no activity and every 10 minutes with activity. Because really, who wants to hear every single 10 minutes my voice announcing the repeater? So it had a robotic one on there, and it didn't sound that good. Not that I sound that much better, but I was able to kind of speed it up as well to not make it take so long, the announcement. But it basically just gives the it says it's the W4RNG repeater in Jacksonville, Florida, on a frequency of 1.1146 decimal 76 megahertz with a PL tone of 127.3. So it kind of announces the repeater, what it's on. So if anybody's monitoring and they need to get into the machine, they'll know what PL tone to use. And if there's like an opening or something like that, and someone's hearing it, 200-300 miles away, which, believe it or not, actually does happen every now and then, maybe once or twice a year late at night, they'll know where it's located as well, that it's not their local machine or whatnot. So I did that. It's on Echolink now. It's on a very stable internet connection, on a very large backup battery and UPS system, in a commercial, center block poured concrete wall building. So it should be able to handle, whatever nature can throw at it, power outages and whatnot. So we should have a pretty reliable setup. The only limitation is that I could only do one radio and one antenna. So we don't have a separate Echolink and announcement machine. So the only announcement we're going to have right now, until we can find some kind of alternate solution, is just the ID every hour or every 10 minutes with activity. So we can't do, for example, meeting announcements. I could do one. They would be kind of a little more manual, you could say. But there is a possibility that I could do some, like, meeting reminder meeting is tomorrow, and then have that file change. So I'm looking for some solutions there where we might be able to do that. But that's what we've got right now, just due to the limitations of only being able to access, having one antenna and using one radio. So there's the results of the poll. I thought I shared those. And then I'll go ahead and close that out. So I do have a little thing I want to go over, not necessarily a presentation, more like an idea, maybe like a thing. I don't know. We'll call it a presentation. Sure, this counts. So I'm going to share my screen. There's a PowerPoint because, I can't do anything without PowerPoint. So I'm going to play this from the beginning. And I need to make sure I share the right screen, the proper screen. Standby 1. Nope. Screen 2. Yes. Okay. So we should see, like it says, portable communication system proposal. Is anybody or everybody seeing that?
No, I see is that you started a screen sharing.
All right, let me try this again. My system has frozen up. All right, let me try closing some things because I got things open. So have I completely dropped? Can y'all hear me at all?
Screen is up, I can see it.
You have
Okay,
audio, yeah.
I have audio, and can you see my screen now? It says portable communication system. Okay, I see a thumbs up. Good deal. All right. Again, apology for the technical issues. Apparently, I was asking a little too much out of this old laptop here. So, this proposal is for a purchase of a portable communication system by Range. And I'm going to go into those details here. So, we're going to talk about the need and purpose for such a system, the conditions to use the system, and what it's going to look like as far as the equipment and our build cost. Right? So need and purpose. So if you look at the other clubs, to my knowledge, Aries, NOFARs, any of the other clubs don't have any kind of a portable communication system that can be rapidly deployed. They all rely on member-owned equipment. And when we're at these presentations and we have a tent set up, we usually just have a sign and some handouts and things like that. So I think it would be really cool to have a a organization owned piece of equipment that we could have at these Hamfest or these public events where people could see amateur radio live. And one of the events I was at last year is there was a technology fair council or something at Metropolitan Park that was real interested. And I was like, man, we could really plug in. It was a lot of youth. It was a lot of high school and college students. And I was like, man, we could really plug in here, but we're not going to sell anybody on the excitement of amateur radio with a sign and some handouts. I just don't see that happening, especially younger kids that are into the technical stuff. So, other than the IC51AD, the two that we own, the range, to my knowledge, has no other equipment that is designed or dedicated for loaner demo equipment. When we own the majority of the equipment we own is for the maintenance and for backup of our repeater system. Already talked about no other group owned equipment. Field day, everybody's bringing their own stuff. No club owned equipment. We could use it for special event station, and it would be a membership requirement to use the equipment. So it would kind of make membership a little more attractive to say, hey, this is available to you as a possible equipment that could be used. So we do need to talk about conditions for using the equipment, because obviously we're not going to invest thousands of dollars in equipment and just hand it out recklessly. So a couple of the ideas that I came up with, and all this is up for discussion. I just want to lay it out in front of the group, and then at the end I'll open it up for discussion. But these are all things that we should consider. So when the equipment is loaned out or issued to somebody for an event or whatnot, we do need to have some kind of written formal agreement to protect range, not only to hold harmless. So should they drop the equipment on their toe and break their toe, should they get an RF burn or whatever, some type of rental term, so we have some means of saying, hey, we expect to have this back from you within 30 days or within 2 weeks, or after the event that's taking place this weekend, we want you to return it within 2 days. We need to, unfortunately, these days set those parameters. We would want them to be responsible for any, physical damage that they do to the equipment. Be an active member of range, so either you have a lifetime membership or an active, current membership. Set some kind of geographical limitations. I mean, we are the Jacksonville Range Association, so outside of maybe needing it to be deployed for a hurricane or something where we're partnering with Aries that could be out of the county, we don't want some person from Nevada coming in and saying, yeah, I'd like to have a membership and I'd like to take that with me to Nevada, and then well, I have no way of getting it back. Or if you want it back, send me $500 and UPS postage, and I'll send it back. And then another idea would be to have an actual need to use the equipment, not just like, hey, we got new cool stuff, I want to see it. And I think this could be a try before you buy type of thing. The two radios that I'm going to propose here on the next slide are two pretty popular radios. But try before you buy. A special event station, demo, emergency use. Some hams have to have other equipment repaired, and they really don't want to be off of HF or whatever, and we could loan it to them for a week or two for that. And then obviously insure it with ARRL coverage as well. Make sure that's under our ARRL insurance policy. So those are the things. And like I said, we'll flip back to this slide later when we open this up for discussion. And then the last thing is the actual equipment itself. So I was proposing a station that can ideally be set up and used by one person, where it doesn't take a crew of 2 or 3 people to set it up, operate it. Two of the most popular radios from ICOM, the IC7300 to cover pretty much all of HF, and then the IC5100. These prices are probably a little low since they've gone up since then, but I priced everything out. a rolling rack case, so you don't have to carry the equipment. You can just set it down out of your trunk or your SUV. It's on rollers and with a little handle. It looks like a big plastic suitcase. They make rack mounts to mount it just like you see here in this picture. So this is exactly how it would look. 7300, 5100. We can show off our D-Star repeater with the 5100 as well, as it does D-Star. And then all the things that you need to go with it. So the rack mount, the Astron rack mount power supply, a battery backup module. So if we're in a situation where we're in a tent, literally in a field or something, we can at least run it for receive for a few hours and maybe do some low power QRP HF or 5 watt on the ICOM 5100. Just obviously wouldn't be able to run a ton of power just off a battery. So and then that also kind of serves double purpose, that if it is being used as an emergency thing and the power goes out, you have the ability to at least make calls for a little while. And this module here basically will switch from the power supply automatically over to the battery. The Dakota Lithium 23 amp hour battery, which we're already familiar with, we already own one of those that's going to go up on the bridge. The Comet SBB5 VHF UHF antenna. The good thing about this antenna is we could put a, and I've seen this done before, where you actually take an SO239 flange mount and you mount it to the back of the box or through the back of the box, and then you can either mount the antenna directly to it, or you can put a piece of cable there and run that antenna and clamp it out somewhere else. But that is a just a small mobile antenna that can still be very effective, around the county for VHF and UHF. The vice grip antenna mount, to mount that on, so if we're in like the tent we use, we can clamp it to the top of the tent. MFJ has a pretty affordable multi-band HF antenna. Depending on our budget, we can go with something a little larger, but the whole point was something that one person can erect and not need a team of people. The Buckmaster off-center fed dipole antenna is another good option for an HF antenna that will work good with the built-in tuner. And then 2 ICOM SP35 speakers, which would mount in their own rack just below or above the equipment, so that way we have really good audio coming out, because when you mount like a 7300 with a speaker on top in an enclosed rack, it's going to sound awful, and obviously that's going to turn people off as well. So, oh, did I lose my connection?
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
You still see it? Okay.
I can see the actual equipment that you're talking about is all we're seeing is the portable communication system screen, and we're listening to you give the descriptions of all the equipment.
Okay.
There's
Do you actually see the
scrolling showing? There's nothing scrolling showing us the equipment.
Well, it says build costs, and there's a picture of the equipment. Do you see that now?
No.
Let me start resharing. Let's, why am I having so many technical difficulties today? Let's see. Share screen.
While you're working on that, Rich Barsky, WA1GZY, Rich Barsky, has, I think, an IC705 that he wanted, and a Comet antenna that he wanted to loan or lend to any new hams that wanted to get into HF radio that did not have the funds to buy one.
Yeah.
And he was talking about checking it out from him on a temporary basis. We haven't had anyone really promote that, and so far, and because of that, we don't have anyone that has responded to that offer. And I haven't seen Rich or his wife in a couple of months, so I don't know if their offer still stands or if the 705 would be available for this.
Yeah. Well, that's a moot point if we do this. I mean, we can offer it as an organization now, not have to rely on an individual to do that. So, are we seeing the screen
Right.
now with the equipment in the rack mount?
Yes, I see the HF and
Yeah.
the
Okay.
VHF side by side, and I see the summary.
Yeah, so there's a list of
Reveal
equipment. So the
cost.
total cost when you add this all up, keeping in mind this was probably about 6 months ago when I did this, was $3,100. I'm gonna estimate that's probably closer to $3,500 now. And then keeping in mind we could, maybe take out these antennas and swap them around or something to lower the cost. We would need coax cable, at least 30 feet of coax cable, I would think. LMR 240 is a really good choice. It's very durable. It's good to fold up and unfold a bunch of times, and it also is a smaller cable, but doesn't have that much loss. So similar to RG8X, I guess you would say, but better specs for the size and things like that. So that's all I have. I just wanted to go over that and kind of present that and put that idea out there. Then we can open it up for discussion now. And I'm not asking for a vote or anything like that on this meeting to purchase any of the equipment or anything. I just purely want to get it out there in front of everyone and discuss it. So don't everybody jump at once. Jim just jumped. Go ahead, Jim. What are your thoughts, Jim? You got to come off mute for it to work, though.
Don't really have a big driving thing on it. I'm not recognizing the uses of it so much. I mean, loader, yeah, sort of wishy-washy on it, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm not pressing for any kind of, I think everybody needs to digest it for a month and maybe think of, scenarios or needs or where this might be beneficial for the community, that we're providing our service to as a ham radio organization. Justin, Bill, Rajesh dropped. Yeah, I mean, it could be used as, yeah, it could be used for an activation. It could be used as loaner equipment, or try before you buy thing to take it out to these events that you go to, Justin, to show off and promote range. I think that would attract a whole lot more attention to just a banner and some handouts, and a couple handhelds on the table.
Right.
We could crank those speakers up and have, stations coming in from 1,000 miles away, and they're like, whoa, how are you hearing these guys from 1,000 miles away? I didn't know it could do that. I mean, I had a friend of mine that's known I'm a ham, and we were out in the backyard barbecuing the other day, and he said, what's that wire right there? I said, well, that's my antenna. Oh, that's your antenna? You can make an antenna just like that? Yeah. Well, how far have you talked to that? Well, pretty much I've talked far enough that if you go any further, you're going to start coming back. So, and he goes, really? I said, yeah, I've talked to Western Australia on it. And he goes, man, I had no idea you had the capability to do that. That's awesome. And he just got interested. Someone who I would never think would be interested in ham radio and never really talked to him a lot about it. Super interested now. So.
I know that he's not here tonight in the meeting, but because he had a conflict. But I know that Jack Driscoll was wanting to purchase equipment to use at the River City Science Academy. even using an old Drake or something that was donated and was wanting us to consider buying equipment to be utilized by the high schoolers at the River City Science Academy. And my point to him was that they're currently giving them a stairwell in the building for the equipment. And that if we were ever to consider any kind of a permanent placement there or lend them equipment, that it would need to be more protected in a better location than just the stairwell.
Yeah.
And I think it's, if I remember well, it said that he would talk to the powers that be at the school and see if the school perhaps would make a better location available and even participate a little bit in the acquisition of the equipment.
Well, and I think this might be a good opportunity where
it all died right there. So we already have an offer or a request of one from one of our members for equipment. This equipment would not take its place. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, my concern is that what he's asking for is a more permanent solution. Now, where I think this may be good is to say, hey, we will, get with the administration, say, hey, we want to support this program. Unfortunately, we don't have the finances to donate equipment on a permanent basis. What we'd like to do is to set up this system and give it to you for a month to see if we can, generate excitement or whatever, and let your students use it and see it. And then at that point, we could even offer to them, hey, here's what it costs us to do this. Here's the receipts. We will either, sell it to you where it sits because it's already there and installed and your students know how to use it. Take that money, and I don't mind making the effort of, ordering the equipment again and building another one if it's for a cause like that. But yeah, definitely the intention of this is not to donate it out permanently or anything like that. It's for emergency activations. It's for field day, winter field day, for, I can think of at least, once a month where this equipment could be used between field day, winter field day, all the ham fest we go to where we set up booths, I think the River City Science Academy is the one that actually puts on that thing down at Metro Park that I went to. So, I mean, we could participate there with, set up a booth with that, which I think would be excellent. And the other events, I think you used to do something. It was underneath one of the overpasses, the River City Arts Festival or something, Justin, that used to go to.
That's downtown, but we haven't had a booth or anything there.
Yeah, but I feel like there's all kinds of events we could take it to the Red Cross meeting to do show and tells. Sorry, go ahead.
Right. Oh, we didn't have this kind of equipment to be able to display it, so and utilize it. So when the idea of the arts festival there underneath the bridge there at 95 and over in Riverside, just setting up a table and standing there with a banner like you're saying would not have been productive.
Yeah.
So if we have something like this if I get what you're saying, to have an active demonstration of it, that could generate interest with it.
Yep. We could go to Hamfest or other events and set up, start doing special event stations, things like that.
Okay.
People love special event stations. They'll go in, you'll get on HF. Everybody around you can hear you work in HF. You can have other people come in and and work the station, and then you get a custom call sign, W4R or something, and if you contacted us during the 2 hour period we were on the air, we'll print you a little certificate, and you got that little stamp. You can put the range logo or something, and people love that stuff. You
Yeah,
go
I
buy a
mean,
nice thing of paper, print out a
QR cards
certificate.
have not, QSO cards have kind of sort of fallen by the wayside with all the electronic options.
Yeah, we could do electronic QSO cards, or even if we think it's going to be a big enough event, even have a batch of special event station QSO cards, or QSL cards. I'm sorry.
QSL, right?
Printed up. So I think there's a lot of opportunity for this equipment. I don't want to. So there's two extremes, right? There's the River City Science Academy, where it's sitting somewhere and someone kind of feels like they've taken ownership of it and it's not theirs because they've been given it on a more permanent basis. And there's the opposite of that, where it sits in your garage or my garage or Daniel's garage and never gets used, and we pretty much spent what's probably going to end up being close to $3,400 or $3,500 when it's all said and done, with all the price increases lately, on equipment that's just sitting in a box in someone's garage and not getting used. So we want to try to prevent either of those two extremes, and that's where I think we built in some kind of safeguards here with some of these conditions as well. But I definitely see it as something that will get used between the field days, between the events that we go to. We could even have a program on it at the meeting one night and set it up and say, hey, here's our new equipment, and let's deploy it. Let's practice deploying this with all the club members as a program one night. Here's what it's capable of. Here's the antenna. Let's deploy it and get it on the air for an hour one night.
Okay.
That box, that rack mount box. Another thing I didn't mention is this Gator case should be big enough that we could actually store, these antennas wound up in the LMR 200 kind of in the back of the case behind the radios, because the radios are like this deep and the case is like that deep. So it can actually be, pretty much completely self-contained, which is nice as well. And once the front and back of those cases are on, they have weather rings and everything, so they're sealed and all that. You don't have to worry about mice getting in there and building nests in the radio if it's stored in someone's garage, or roaches or dust bunnies or whatever. So yeah, I've seen, when I was in Atlanta, I was working in Atlanta for half a year, there was a club up there that had a setup similar to this, and they used it. They had it out at almost every meeting. They were using it for hands-on training for new hams. If you're a new ham, and even if you're a technician, right, you can get on 10 meters and you can do code on the lower bands, but you may be apprehensive. You've never touched an HF radio before. You don't know what upper and lower sideband is, or how it works, or how to, if you have a waterfall scope, the tune, so that if you're on upper sideband, that's going to look like the signals just above the scope, and not versus lower sideband where it's going to look just below the line. I may have said that backwards, but you know what I mean. I see Jim shaking his head, so thank you, Jim. I appreciate that.
You can visually see the sideband.
Yeah, so that's great training for new hams that are getting on HF. So when they do get their first rig, they can feel comfortable. They can say, I've done this before. I know what it sounds like. I know how to tune it. I know how to change bands. We're not trying to be ICOM salesmen or anything, but I think these two radios are the ones that are the most popular, have the easier learning curves. Most of our members either own one or both of these radios and know how to use them. I have the software for both of these radios, so I can program the 5100 with all the local repeaters and the D-Star and things like that as well. So I think there's a lot of advantages with going with this brand and these particular pieces of equipment.
I like
That's
the
all I
idea of
had.
mentoring new.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
love the idea, just to trail along to that, I love the idea of mentoring new hams using equipment like this, yeah.
Yep. So I think we
Yeah.
can get a lot of use out of these if we don't, just throw them in someone's garage and forget about them. We bring them out to the meetings, bring them out to field day. Like I said, I think Daniel has made his place accessible even when he's gone right now. I mentioned him today about another piece of equipment or something that he had, and he said, "Yeah, if you need it, you can go and get it." So he's making his place accessible. I think he has a code on his garage that we can go in and things like that. So he's offering basically to be a free storage unit for us. So I don't think storing this and having a secure and readily accessible location is a big deal. If worst comes to worst, I would be willing to store it. It's not going to take that big of a footprint. It's the size of a regular kind of square moving box. But anyway, I am going to stop sharing. That's all I really wanted to cover. I think we're coming up, or we've already gone a little past 8 o'clock. So I just wanted to cover that. I think maybe next meeting we can see if anybody else is on and do a little more discussion, and maybe even see if we want to bring it to a vote to purchase the equipment at that time. I would like, obviously, there to be more members aware of it and more members involved in the vote.
Justin, when you said earlier how wealthy we are, I don't recall, I didn't hear the number of how much we have.
Justin, how much do we have in our money in our bank?
Oh, I'm sorry, I was trying I was concentrating on understanding what you were saying. You might have, my phone audio is a little poor right now. We have combined monies of over $5,000. Somewhere between $5,000 and $6,000. I'd have to,
Seemed like a couple of
now
years
that I
ago.
can find my email again.
Yeah, it was a couple of years ago. I think we only had $200 or something. We were at the minimum amount.
We were down below, yeah.
Yeah, we've had a lot of
We
equipment
have-
donations and things lately, and we are still having kind of the initiative to see what are we going to use that's in inventory versus what do we need to put on eBay and sell. And I think Daniel has done some of that, and that's where some of that money's come from. But if I understand correct, I believe there's still more equipment out there that may have the potential to be, liquefied.
Oh, yeah. Liquidated.
Yeah.
We have a grand total, Jim, of $5,911 as of today.
So we're talking about a little over half of our current budget, keeping in mind that we still have equipment out there, and we are still getting a small but steady income from Amazon donations as well.
Right.
So Justin, I'll
Alright,
hand it
Ben.
over to you to wrap up. I'm going to try to expeditiously put this meeting on YouTube. So if you want to send this to Jack or any of the other members for a potential vote, next meeting, they can be aware of what we've already covered and discussed during this meeting, and they're not, behind.
Okay. Well, and the meetings that we've already recorded, are they also in archive?
I have a backlog of about 2 or 3 meetings that need to be put on YouTube, and I'm going to try to make it a priority to get that done either later tonight or tomorrow.
Okay. Good. As long as we catch up on that, that's great. I don't have anything else. Does anyone have any more news for the group, or any new equipment or success or incredibly amazing worldwide HF contacts, or they've been practicing code and they're at 20 words a minute now? No?
I wish. No new toys and no new talents here.
No, I got nothing. Hardly been on the radio at all for months. Yeah.
Yeah,
All right, guys. I'm gonna stop the recording.
okay. That's all I have for the meeting, Bill. Thanks for joining us. And
Yeah, Bill.
Ben,